everyone, and welcome back to the weekly English shooting live stream. I hope you've all had a fantastic week. Of course, I will be your host this evening, Callum from English Shooting. This is an interactive live stream, so all you regulars will know what the deal is, but get involved, ask questions, propose topics. I'm all about opening up discussions. Certain things I like to steer away from, but certainly if you have any questions about our laws here in the UK, how to get into shooting, what can you own, any opinions on guns or equipment, I'll be more than happy to answer those questions and to get involved in those discussions. But yeah, anything you want to bring up, please feel free. And of course, don't forget to hit that like button. If you've watched this, if this is your first live stream you've watched, first video on this channel, there's plenty of more, so go and check those out. But if you like what you see, then please hit that subscribe button as well. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Hopefully, we're now seeing I think we've seen potentially the dip. I like to be an optimist. The dip in firearms licensing, and let's be completely honest, the last 12 months has not been a good 12 months for firearms licensing across the UK, but we are seeing signs of change. Whether that's going to be for the good or for the worse, I don't yet know. But there's a lot of things happening that people have been calling for a very long time, and we're starting to see some of those things coming, not necessarily coming to fruition, but changes afoot. Now, that usually makes firearms owners in the UK and anybody that likes shooting here within the UK very nervous, because usually when things change, it doesn't usually change for the best for us, but we've got to have some hope out there. This is, of course, all about the news that was broken by, I believe, the Register about this new firearms licensing management system. This isn't just the database of guns and gun owners. This is the system that they use to effectively give out certificates, renew certificates, and do variations, things like that. A lot of people saying it's very outdated, very, very clunky, and almost not fit for purpose. So an overhaul could be on the horizon. We will be getting in to that as the main topic in quite big detail. Also, this evening we're going to be talking about BASC kicking out a couple of its members. Of course, we have talked previously about we are a self-policing society, community and sport. Yes, of course, the police are continuously monitoring and doing their own checks and, well, policing. But there's a lot that goes on within the sport that self-vets, self-monitors and self-polices, and it looks like BASC is very tuned to what's going on with their members, and will take action as and when required, and it's expelled a couple of members, so we will be talking about that. We'll be talking about the match this weekend. Very excited. It's the first IPSC level 3 of the year. I think that is correct. I don't think there's been any so far. I certainly haven't turned up to them, so I probably didn't know about them, but it's going to be mini rifle. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. You all know I'm passionate about practical shooting, the UK PSA, IPSC, trying to grow that sport. We believe it is one of the fastest growing areas of our sport, and I think it's such a great advert, an enticement to people into the sport. So we'll be talking a little bit about that, a bit about match prep. I could even pull up the stages if you really wanted, and we could have a little look through. We've got some really positive news. Anytime something like this happens, we need to be shouting from the rooftop. We're going to talk about Amber Hill taking gold at the World Championships, and some also positive news. I'm a busy boy this year so far, heading back out to Nizza. We've talked a lot about Nizza the past few weeks because I was out there a few weeks ago. Great facility, a great opportunity for people here in the UK to shoot handguns. So for those of you that have been watching this channel but living under a rock, we're going to talk a bit about Nizza, why you should go out there, and what's available to you guys. But yeah, the main story, the firearms license management system. I'm going to bring up the article from the Register, written by Gareth Caulfield, who's very active in sort of breaking big stories like this. Certainly a friend of the shooting community. But the title, UK Home Office dangles £20 million for National Gun Licensing's database system, but potential bidders will have to move fast on this one. So it goes into detail about why they need to replace it, and doesn't sort of pull his punches straight in the first line there. Home Office is looking to replace its ancient and creaky National Firearms Licensing Management System, the NFLMS. I think it's actually better to say the full thing, really, or maybe that's just my dyslexia, in a £20 million contract. This system is the central police database for every firearm owner and every individual firearm in England and Wales. Whoever wins the contract will have a relatively low profile but a critically important system to deliver. And this is the sort of the main bit in terms of the importance of this system. 170,000 grants, renewals and variations per year. So this is a very heavily used system. It goes into when it was first adopted, which was in the mid-2000s, but like all projects, overran a little bit from its £5 million estimate, overran by 1.5 million. Never ceases to amaze me how they can overrun on every single firearm project. Of course, we remember the offensive weapons bill and the surrendering of Mars and Lever releases. No one actually knows by how much it overran, but it was something like 3 or 4 times. We've discussed that to death at this point. But he goes also into some of the issues. The biggest issue is actually compatibility. A lot of the police forces don't have a sort of concise and consistent IT approach, so they have to use various plugins to get it to work, and it's very clunky, and that leads to weaknesses and also inefficiency, with one example being back in 2013, South Yorkshire Police managed to lose track of 9,000 licensed firearms after a data entry clerk went rogue and stopped accurately updating the system with details from paper forms. So this is a big key element to how firearms licensing is conducted here within the UK. If you have the main system that you are using and it's slow and it's clunky and there's inefficiencies and you're losing stuff, and it's going to be slowing down the process, and it's going to be slowing down the process of firearms licensing departments processing grants, processing those applications, the renewals, the variations, things like that. And that is sort of an end service consequence to us. How much of it is due to, how much of the delays that we've continuously seen, COVID, we'll probably look back in 10, 20 years time and it will be a blip. Trying to base current service deliverables on the back of COVID, yes, can completely agree that the excuse is now worn off. They should now be returning back to normal, or they should have been returning back to normal months ago. But certainly during the last 2 years, there's a reasonable explanation for grant times, renewal times, variation times going through the roof. But this isn't due to COVID. This isn't isolated during this COVID period. We have seen firearms licensing departments take 12, 18 months to process applications years prior to that. How much of that is due to this system, no one really knows, but it is likely to be a big key factor. And you can only assume that it is going to be a massive positive to the shooting community for people that want to get their certificates, be that shotgun or firearm certificates. If they've got a faster, quicker, more efficient system, it should only speed up the processes. You would hope. I have heard a few people say that actually, and I don't know 100% how I feel about this, because of course, any American viewers and subscribers will be sat there going, registration leads to confiscation. at the moment, with having such a sort of detached system and such a difficult system to operate, it makes potential bans, it makes potential further restrictions, just look at the Mars and Lever release, much harder for the police and Home Office to implement. If you've got this creaky old system that you're going to have to depend on massively to be able to go out there and potentially take away guns, confiscating them, then you might, to a certain degree, be put off. That has to be one of the key factors. How efficiently can we take away these guns? And not remembering what we're going to be talking a lot about the offensive weapons bill and the confiscation of those guns. How clunky that was, how long it took them for a relatively low number of guns. I think it was something around 1,000 Mars and like a few hundred Lever releases, and there's something like 2.5-3 million licensed firearms within the UK. So you're talking a very small percentage, and it obviously, because of the inefficiencies, because of how creaky this system is, they weren't able to just go on it and find people's addresses of where these guns were kept. Counties like Hampshire sent out a letter to every single firearms license holder or firearms certificate holder saying, yeah, if you happen to have a Mars or a Lever release, could you come and hand it in, please? And it heavily suggested they didn't have a single clue how many were out there, and that was reflected also in the amount that were eventually surrendered, way over the initial estimates. So a creaky system like this, whilst obviously it's slowing down the process, it's making things longer for us to be able to get into the sport, to get certificates, to start owning your own firearms, it is in a way a little bit of a shield. And this is what I've heard a few people say, is that, well, making it more concise is going to make it a lot easier for them to just, actually, we're going to ban all of these now. They plug that into this new, hopefully fast and quick and efficient system, and it is just going to spit out every certificate holder that has one of these guns on their certificate. Likewise, I am a supporter of our licensing system. I certainly think it defends us as a community and a sport, because it prevents the wrong people from getting hold of guns. It makes sure the system makes sure that guns that are legal to own are legally owned. So we do need a system where they can go and find all of these people. So yeah, like everything, it's like a double-edged sword. I think overall it will be a massive benefit. We could end up living to regretting that. We might be able to get a grant within the next couple of weeks, but if it is a great tool for them to then erode the sport even more, it doesn't matter how long it's going to take you to get your certificate if there's nothing left to own. So where did the register get all of this information, and also why did they say it had to be quick? Now, I've had some previous experience in bidding for government contracts, not necessarily software, more on the hardware front. So I sort of have an understanding of how it normally works. I've never seen something with such a small deadline, to be honest. Maybe other people that are more au fait with this sort of thing will be able to say otherwise, but it was put out here on Bid Stats, and it was put out to tenure. So it was published on the 7th of March, and the deadline was the 14th of March, 7 days. Now, this isn't a small project. This isn't a small system, and it's not a small amount of money. You're talking £20 million. This is a national system of great importance because it's firearms. If you were a prospective company wanting to bid for this, surely you would want more than 7 days to think that you're going to, to sort of think if you're even capable of doing it. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of companies out there that don't have to think twice about taking on a £20 million contract. But again, we're talking about firearms. Perhaps we do want somebody that is more au fait with firearms and potentially the firearms management system as it stands. That might be a smaller company, and potentially the better option, the better provider for this is out there, but perhaps they didn't have the time to be even made aware of it or to really consider it, because you don't want to necessarily want to be putting in things that it later on transpires that you have absolutely no way in hope of actually going for. But this sort of lays out a lot of the details, a lot of the processes, and of course what the Home Office is going to be expecting from people. I did sort of think about signing myself up to this as a bid, just to get access to the early market engagement event. That would have been an interesting attendance. I'm sure there would have been a few raised eyebrows with my name flashing up during that. But yeah, a lot of the details of, you know, the scale of it, 170,000, that's where the register got their info. They're looking... Delivery of product backlog 1 to 5 years. Yeah, 5 to 20 million pound. I mean, that's quite a big swing there. You know, like, you know, maybe you would say, you know, 15 to 20 million, but 5 to 20 million. I mean, the Home Office isn't going to turn down a bargain if someone can do it for 5 million when others are saying that it's 20. But it is out there. It was free for people to go and engage or to tend for it. Obviously, past now. So the other thing about the small deadline or the tiny deadline, I sort of have a suspicion, this happens quite a lot behind the closed doors with the Home Office, with the police. They probably already have people in mind, companies in mind that they've probably had behind the scenes, unofficial discussions with. Look, we're going to do this. Do you think we should, you know, would you be interested? And it sort of smells to me that they don't want an abundance of people bidding for it. There's already a few that have been pre-warned. They were able to get it in there quite quickly. And, you know, they will be the ones that eventually get it. It's like there's a lot of companies that part of their process is they have to put it, you know, slightly different, but like new vacancies or promotions. Usually companies will want to promote from within, but they have to advertise openly. But the decision's already made. They're just doing it as a box ticking exercise. So there might be a bit of that going on here. So it'll be very interesting to see who ends up getting this contract and what sort of system that they end up making and what benefit or what effect that's going to have on firearms licensing as a whole. The thing is, we are seeing a number of things going on at the moment. We've recently seen this new statutory guidance come into place. Whilst I think overall it's more of a stick to be able to beat us with, rather than actually clarifying a lot of vague and ambiguous points within the previous guidance or current firearms law. It's a step in, you know, they're trying to make things clearer. They're trying to, you know, make firearms licensing more consistent. If they are all using this new system, it should be, again, a lot more consistent within their processes. And that is ultimately one of the biggest issue with firearms licensing at the moment. Aside from the delays, is the lack of consistency between forces. So they seem to be heading down that route. We were also having this new review of our fees. So, you know, we were talking about a full cost recovery. Well, if they're looking to recover £20 million for a new system, fees may go up quite a lot. Perhaps that these are all connected. They want to put the fees up to recoup some of this money, which will help with efficiencies, which should hopefully long-term save money. So should they then reduce it? You know, if this system really is all singing, all dancing, and they can turn around certificates in a couple of weeks, should they then reduce the fee because they're doing it quicker? It's less it's less time, less admin for them. I don't know. I, again, want to be an optimist with this. I want to think that it's going to make things quicker. It's going to make things more consistent. But of course, as always, we're going to have to sort of suck it and see what comes out of it. But let me know what you think of it. Again, use that chat box, get involved. See a lot of you already atting English Shooting. That really is the best way to attract my attention, because it does flash up orange. So if there's something you want me to read out, if you've got a view or opinion on it, or you just want to say I'm flat out wrong, you can say that, but you'll be ignored if you don't give some sort of justification. But use at English Shooting in the chat, and I will see things pop up. Black Guinea Pig, how about you switch it up and plug the Discord first? I have set up a great competition that runs through April. Later, I've got the tabs open. I'm not showing Discord on the stream. That's just unfortunately a flat out rule. I'm not going to show it because you guys are retrobates, but I'll drop the link in. There we go. I'll talk about Discord in a bit, but I'll put the link in for anyone that wants to join it. If you want to have your eyes opened to the true shooting community here in the UK, go and visit this link. I dare you. Do you have the schedule for the US yet? So we're going a little bit off topic, but I do like to try and answer everything. No, Daniel. Well, sort of. I've got a rough itinerary at the moment. I'm still waiting for various people to come back to me to solidify plans. For those of you that don't know, we're going on a pretty mammoth trek across America in a few weeks now. It's mildly terrifying how close it is. So that's a few weeks away now. We're going to be flying out there. We're doing this sort of 10-day tour. We're flying into Chicago. We're going to be driving all the way down to Texas, going across to Alabama. There's one particular company that I know 100% without any doubt that we're going to go and visit. It's an ammunition manufacturer called Callaway Ballistics. They very kindly invited us there to sort of have a tour of their facilities, but also they're going to bring a few toys out, including a bucket list gun for me, a Glock 18. For those of you that don't know, that's the full auto Glock. I've wanted to shoot one of those for a very long time, hopefully with a beta mag. So we're going to be meeting up with those. They're in, I believe, either in or just outside of Birmingham, Alabama. The deep south is somewhere that I've wanted to visit for a very long time, mainly because of the food and the moonshine. But it's not an area that I've really been exposed to that much. So we're gonna see all kinds of America when we go out there. And then of course we're going to be driving up from there through Tennessee into Kentucky for the American Shooting Trips Kentucky trip this year. Whole week in Owensboro, just outside Louisville, however it's pronounced. So there's going to be an awesome amount of shooting matches. There's going to be full auto stuff there, night shoots, I think lake shoots. There's David's actually planning a stage where you will be shooting from a boat on a lake. That should be very interesting. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people getting wet. But yeah, that's about the scale of or the really the firmest plans that we have at the moment. I have been contacting various other people, not necessarily for content, but for other business reasons, to go and meet up and talk with them. But I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people and a lot of sites and a lot of ranges and a lot of gun shops that we stop off on the way. I'm planning on vlogging or videoing as much as possible. Whether I'm just going to do that as a sort of a daily vlog or semi-daily vlog, or just make dedicated videos while we're out there, I don't know. But it's going to be hopefully some great content going forward. American content. It's been far too long since being out there, thanks to the corona. But yeah, if you're interested in that sort of stuff, shooting full autos, big tour, that's one of the big reasons I love America. Not guns aside, is the variety of it. And whilst I have been to a fair amount of different states, and I've seen the variety out there, this is really going to be the first time I'm going to see it sort of happen as we go, going from one side to the other to another. And we're going to see many different sides to the States, and that, as much as all the different shooting, I want to sort of portray that as well. The topography of everything. The cultures in different places. I'm sure Alabama is a very different place to Texas and Iowa and all of that, so it will be great to meet as many people out there, talk guns, go to gun shops, go to ranges, and sort of fly the Union Jack for this side of the pond. Pete Smith, hi Callum, great week. Certificate turned up from Hampshire last Sunday. Guns now safely tucked away in cabinet. That is great to hear. For those of you that don't know, whilst it's actually getting very close, because they said, I think it was the 20th of March, that they said they were going to restart applications, or they were going to think about potentially accepting new applications. But I'm hearing more and more news out of Hampshire that they are processing the backlog of new applications, so people are getting their certificates now. So yeah, it's moving in the right direction, and hopefully they will open up for new grants soon, and we can get back to normal. Anthony, it will cost 10 million per year just to run and maintain it on top of that. Yeah, that is, you know, all this sort of saying about all the fees with this new firearms licensing management system. They're going to try and recoup the cost somehow. If they build that £10 million, I mean, what does that? I mean, there's 650,000 license holders. It's £10 million a year. Let's it's far too late to be doing this in my head. Well, that's £15 per certificate holder per year, which times that by the renewal period of 5 years, then you're going to be talking £75. So that we talked about the, you know, at the moment a coterminus is 90 quid. I think we talked last week about inflation. We put it at around 110, 120. That would be reasonable. 150 I think is going to be the maximum. Well, if they put it up to 150, that's going to end up paying for a good chunk, almost the entirety of that £10 million a year. So it's going to be very interesting to see if they build that sort of cost in there. Of course, that if they up it to, if it's £10 million a year, if it's a £20 million initial fee or cost, well, they're never going to recoup that. So if they want to try and recoup the 20 million, then we're going to start seeing £150 plus renewal fees. If they switch to 10 years, we're going to start to see, you know, 200 plus, well, 300 plus to have any way of being able to recoup all of that. But, you know, actually, yeah, 10 million, when you sound on the face of it, initially sounds quite a lot. It's £15 per certificate holder per year. That's actually, I think, pretty reasonable. Captain Slack, it's all well and good wanting to update the system, but the firearms licensing system is already criminally underfunded, and they're wanting to cut that further. I just don't see how they're going to do it. Well, by upping the fees. If they increase the fees, there will be more money. It does seem odd that they want to increase the fees but decrease what they're going to put into the this firearms licensing system. So it seems it's like, literally, what are we paying for? Like, if you increase the fees, you should be putting that money to better service, to better systems, like, surely? Or is it just, you know, for the firearms licensing department Christmas dinner fund? That would be a big fund. That was probably a very good party that I'll never be invited to. My area lost a year's backlog of transfer notifications when an IT bod cleared out the email system to save disk space. Jesus. Of course, like, the transfer notifications, I'm assuming you mean when guns are transferred, you know, when people sell guns or buy them. Again, I have first-hand experience of how dangerously inefficient our I have two accounts of how dangerously inefficient the current firearms licensing management system is. There was one when I was talking to the police, and they looked up and said, "Oh, you've got 3 firearms." I think I had 7 at the time. I gave them slack on one because I'd only bought it a few weeks later, previous. So I was like, well, perhaps that hasn't updated. But still, you know, let's discredit that 7th and just say it's 6. All of those 6 were there present during a variation. The FEO took note of those. Why aren't they in the system? Right, and the reason that's dangerous, and the reason I do support having a firearms licensing management system like this, is because if somebody does become a danger, if somebody is likely to cause harm to themselves or others with a firearm. Yes, of course, they can use many other different objects, but for the good of our sport, it's better that those other objects, of course, it would be better if none of those objects were used. But every time a gun is used to hurt, threaten, or worse, it looks negatively looks negatively on the entirety of the community. So when somebody does pose a valid danger to the public, you want to be able to go there and say, hang on a minute, yeah, we sort of want all your guns back. If you know, say in my case, they only knew of 3, well, of course, they probably wouldn't know what those 3 were, but let's just say, you know, we're here to collect this, this, and this. Well, hang on a minute, you haven't said the other 3. So, okay, I'll go and grab those ones. I've also, this wasn't sort of the same, but when they previously came to collect them, there was one that was, well, no, they didn't actually even ask about it. There was one sort of gun outstanding. It was at an RFD having some work done, and sort of taking all the others away, and I'm sort of going, don't you want to ask about this one? They're like, oh, what, there's one more? Yeah. And it was like they had no clue about the totality of what I owned. They had some on there, but you know, the way I like to see it, if I was a genuine danger to the public and I had genuine urges, or there was a genuine threat of me going and doing something silly, then I wouldn't have told them. I would have been like, okay, all right. Now, yes, technically the RFD would have had to have asked for my certificate. I wouldn't have been able to produce it, and then he shouldn't be able to give me the gun. That's not, unfortunately, the way that a lot of RFDs can work sometimes. You know, there's no, it's difficult because there can be some assumptions you should never assume, but I would be reasonably confident that I could have driven up there and gone and got it without producing the certificate. Now, okay, that's actually a massive failing of the RFD, but the police, if I hadn't have been honest in that situation, could have presented that opportunity. You know, and that's why we have many different systems, many different procedures, because usually, you know, it's like the golden rules of shooting. You break one of them, it's not going to lead to somebody being hurt, right? You have to break multiple golden rules, but you have to treat every single one as serious as the next, because if you don't break one, you won't break many. Somebody's not gonna get hurt. But yeah, a couple of inefficiencies here and there, and a couple of, you know, people not following the rules could lead to an avenue for somebody to not get away with, but commit something quite bad. So yeah, I've heard dozens of these stories, well, probably more than that, dozens of these stories where police have had absolutely no clue what people own. Of course, there's the Offensive Weapons Bill, the Mars and Lever release as a great example, but even in individual circumstances where, you know, even Plymouth recently, well, not Plymouth, but Devon and Cornwall, them phoning up certificate holders and going, well, yeah, what do you own again? Could you just let us know what you own and maybe just write it in your certificate? You know, blank certificates being sent out and all of that. So yeah, I think it's great. It's quite important that this system is sorted out and can potentially cover off those dangers. Daniel, it's been a year since I moved house and installed my safe, and I'm still waiting for an inspection. I know of people that have that were granted certificates that had never seen their FEO face to face. You know, again, it's about consistency, and it's those sort of inconsistencies that lead to something like Plymouth. You know, let's be brutally honest about it. Tony Victor, lever release didn't exist as an action type until years after they were available. This meant they went on as bolt action or lever action, so they were hard to trace years later. That is a very good point. I've always sort of said, well, hang on a minute, they've got the manufacturer's name on there, so you could at least narrow it down. So yeah, it's a very good point, and there can be some leniency on them. First of all, you would probably say, why wasn't it declared as that? You know, it's not a bolt action gun. So that was a massive oversight, and maybe a lack of understanding of firearms in general that led to that. but there are ways that you could easily narrow down a pool of people that potentially owned one. Manufacturer's name, model. Do you put the model? And then moreover, serial numbers. Like, the only people that sold the VZ58 was Caledonian Classic Arms. Don't you go to them and say, can we have a list of serial numbers from every single one that you've sold, and then go and search through the system via serial number? A lot of ways that you could quite easily narrow it down. The fact that they sent out a blanket message, it's still quite scary. Honestly, I think it really highlights the big gaps, big inefficiencies in this. It's probably a short date because the provider has been identified via the back door. Yes, you heard it here first. Backdoor selection. Philip, it's normally your message has disappeared into oblivion. Good one, YouTube. It's normally short if they don't want a lot of external influences or they have a very particular solution in mind. Yep, that's sort of what I assumed and speculated on. A lot of decisions probably already made. Pokers of Bears, G4S. Nah. Like, at certain points in the last 12 months, I really have had to ask, G4S would be better than nothing. Like, they can't make it any worse than how we've seen it over the previous 12, 18 months. I'm sure they could, but it was sort of like, surely, like, we've got to try something. Although there's, I believe it's Black Guinea Pig has said before that G4S is actually doing firearms licensing. It would be really interesting to see what their sort of not service deliverables, but their the sort of service levels are, and how that stacks up against other forces. Because we're not necessarily looking for them to be the fastest. We just want averagely better. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how if there are private firearms licensing departments, how they are comparing against the non-privatized ones. That may give some inclination of whether it's possible to privatize it, whether there's a benefit for us in privatizing it. I'm not saying we should, just saying we should always explore options. Ego Slave, I'm sat on a waiting list even to visit a shooting club. Find another. You don't need to necessarily be loyal to a shooting club. I at one point was a member. How many club memberships did I have? It was Imperial, Phoenix, NRA, Kentucky Firearms Club. Think that was it. So yeah, 4. At one point I was a member of 4 different clubs, and it's like now I'm a member. I think I'm still a member of Imperial. Might need to pay this year's fee, because it's something like 20 quid a year, and I keep on threatening to go back up there and going and hanging out with those guys again. But for the 20 quid a year, I like having that option. There's obviously Kentucky Firearms Club. They are my main club, and I'm also now a member of NHTSA, because we're going to be going out there more. It works out, if you're going to go out there 2 or 3 times a year, it's more efficient, or it's cheaper to pay your annual membership, which is paid monthly, and it's like 15 quid a month, rather than the day fees, because the day fees can stack up. So yeah, I would go looking for another club. See if there's one without a waiting list. See if there's one that is going to get you shooting quicker, because that's really what you want to be doing, isn't it? Andy Carlos, get your variations in soon before it goes tits up. Yeah, I mean, there's, it's always worse before it gets better, right? It's going to be a very interesting period during the implementation of this system, because there has to be, it's never like an on-off thing. Like, yes, they can switch off the old one and turn on the new one, but they're going to have to train people. There is going to be a transitional period, and that probably will mean further delays for us. Mrs. Doyle, I was told a Yank company called Global Solutions Inc., Securitas and Serco are the only bidders, but who really knows? The thing is, this did, whilst this is the first time, I don't think I actually shared it on the Facebook page. Whilst this is the first time I'm talking about it, and obviously it is, it's past the deadline, the article on the Register, which was shared about Facebook quite a bit, was on the 11th of March. So I guess that was 3 days. Like 3 days they could have, it gave people the weekend to go through and put a bid in. And I have heard various whispers from various people that more than those guys have put in for it. At the end of the day, there's a shitload of money at play. People could effectively form companies out of it. A really funny story. It'd be great to go down and actually talk to these guys, because they're just down in Portsmouth. Accuracy International, a globally recognized and known brand, certainly within the shooting community, started from a shed. Like, from what I understand, it was two guys in a shed. They I think there was an element to sort of war dogs about it. They saw this military contract, they put in a bid for it. I don't think, as the story goes, apparently not ever expecting to get it. They ended up winning this contract, and then it was like, how are we actually going to fucking do this? We thought we were almost joking when we submitted it, but that actually then gave birth to the Accuracy International as we know today. They won the contract, they were able to deliver on that contract, and then they, that gave them the money to be able to build into the brand that they are today. There's a lot of companies that I've worked with in my previous work where they literally were guys in sheds mucking about and ended up getting some stupendous military contract, and it sent them stratospheric. I don't want to talk as gospel. I think another example of that may even be Shield Sights. Of course, big military contracts, big influx of money. As soon as you have that sort of money, you can reinvest in new products. You certainly can dedicate yourself more towards the sporting aspect and other areas of shooting. So yeah, there's potentially a real company maker here in this contract to deliver it. So I wouldn't just assume that it's going to be the pre-established big boys that are just going to be bidding for this. There's going to be a lot of chances, a lot of opportunists to maybe take this on and deliver it. I mean, it's £20 million. I'm sure. I used to hate coding and programming. Unfortunately, I did have to do it as part of my electronics engineering degree, but I'm very much a hardware man, and simply because if a piece of hardware doesn't work, you've always got something to throw. Or you got something that you can just take a hammer to and start again. Programming is just the most frustrating thing in the world for me. But for £20 million, I'd give it a go. Are you doing the shotgun level 3 at Lambraddock Pro Shoot in May? So yeah, let's get on to that. Nice little segue there. So I said at the beginning that I'm doing the level 3 mini rifle this weekend. It's up in Carlisle. I've forgotten the club name, unfortunately. I was going to say, people should go and attend it if you're in the area. I don't check with the club. So it's the Northern Championship, so it's level 3, it's a championship level match, and this is actually the Steve Ballas Memorial. So again, I'll have to make sure I cover that within the video. I'm going to try and find the matches on Shoot and Score It. So prepared as always. Let me bring that shoot. I'll try and not share my is it Shoot and Score It or Practice Score that you can share your unique link and then people can go in and do nasty things. So it's being held. It's I know it starts with Carlisle. doesn't. Well, it's the CSAC. So I think it's the Carlisle Shooting something. The CSAC is hosting the match. 12 stages, and they've actually released the stages, so we can have a quick look through. I will get on to your question though about the Lambradec. So for those of you that haven't seen IPSC before, it is usual that you are sent, certainly for a level 3 match and above, you are sent the stages. Now everyone has their own sort of way of doing it. You can see it's, you know, quite a basic drawing, but it gives you an idea of what you're going to be coming up against. Now this can allow you to train. So certainly, you know, one of the best examples for me was the British Masters in 2020. Usually there should be a lot of option 3 starts, but there was a lot of starting on a tire, you know, the gun resting on a tire or holding it. So you can practice, you know, picking that gun up from the tire and doing an option 3 start, you know, trying different angles, and you can see, you know, you can even see like laying on a bench or stuff like that. There's a tunnel, so you can see the stages. You can actually go out there and, you know, try and simulate it to get some practice, or just do some dry drills. So it's 12 stages in total. And where's the one that was probably going to be quite interesting and challenging for some people? Here we go. So I don't know if it's necessarily a Cooper tunnel, but there is a tunnel. Now, you know, it's not very rare that you would have a stage like that, so that might be something that you want to go off and practice. But what it also does is it tells you the percentage of the match. So again, you want to go and train. Obviously the larger stages are harder to train for, but those are the ones that you want to do well with. It tells you how you're going to be started, so you can have some preparation for the match before you even get there, and some, you know, expectation. Now Connor's actually completely disagrees with me. I really like looking at the stage diagrams and getting a feel for how it's going to look. Connors has warned that it's bad to sort of start making stage plans based on those, because things may change. Until you're actually there, until you're actually looking at it and seeing it in the flesh, there may be targets that you can take from positions that you didn't realize from the stage diagrams, and that will completely change the way that you approach that stage. Also, what's happened with this match is, due to a few constraints with the range, they have had to mix things up a little bit and deviate slightly, be that different distances than what's stated. So, you know, it can be a double-edged sword, but I still think there's a lot of benefit from going through and sort of maybe mentally preparing yourself of what you're going to do and maybe approach each stage. But yeah, but that's this weekend up in Carlisle. I'll be filming the whole match. There will be a match video coming out on that. If you want something in particular from a match, I do. They are actually some of my most enjoyable videos to edit. I really like sort of throwing myself onto those start, you know, match overview or sort of match highlight videos. But if there's anything particular that you want to see at a match, now I'm going to be there both days, shooting on the Saturday, filming it completely. So on the Saturday I tend to only film the squad I'm in, because I can't really be wandering about. On the Sunday I will be generally filming. So if there's anything that you particularly want to see or me talk about or explain at one of these matches, then please use that chat box, that chat segment, put it in, and I'll try and make some notes, and I'll try and, you know, if they just want something particularly explained. I've thought about vlogging it. Unfortunately, there's a lot of banter at these matches, and I know as soon as I get the camera out and I start talking to it, I'm going to have people pulling faces and all sorts. But I don't know, maybe I'll get Connors to host it. But yeah, anything in particular you want to see, then let me know, and I will try my best to fulfill it. But in terms of the original question about Lambradec, absolutely, I will be shooting that. I will shoot every single level 3 that I can get my hands on this year. I believe the only one that I'm having to miss is, unfortunately we missed it last year as well, which is the North Coast Butts PSG level 3. That's because we're in America. Last year, I can't remember why we missed it last year. It was time constraints, but we're literally out of the country this year, so we can't make it. But yes, I'll be doing, so it's the Welsh Shotgun Level 3 in Llanbradach is the 27th to the 29th of May. I'll be at that one. CISO the weekend after. There are some doubts with what's going on around that area of the world at the moment, whether CISO will go ahead. But if it does, we will be there. That's the 2nd to the 5th of June. Then it's this is like hell month for me. So the weekend after CISO is the Southern Championship mini rifle match level 3. The weekend after that is the Summer Championship level 3 Action Air, and that's the pre-match because we can't shoot the main match because we're going up to Scotland again for the Scottish Championship level 3 match. That's practical shotgun. And then the week after that, the weekend after that, we're due to be out in Northern Ireland again. We have a break, although I think actually that weekend, I'm looking at that, I'm penciled in to go back to Llanbradach to do some filming with those guys to help promote the range and promote the competitions that they're doing. Then the weekend after that, it's the Midlands level 3 mini rifle being held up at Yevley. So that's the first time that they've held a level 3 mini rifle, so that'll be really interesting. A break week. Then it's the level 3 Coats of Iron PSG, which I think is going to be held up at Northcote. And then I have finally a week's holiday. And 2 weeks after that, so end of August, is the Scottish Masters PSG, plus the British Masters LBP level 2. Now I don't know if I'm going to be shooting that, but I'm going to be there to film it. Then 2 weeks after that is the Welsh Mini Rifle level 3. So that's my match calendar for this year. There's literally 6 weeks in a row that I have matches, and then a break, and then another match, then a break weekend, and then another match. So yeah, like I should be a fairly good shooter after this year. The amount of fucking matches we're going to be going in. But yeah, every level 3 I'll be going to, but whether that be Action Air, mini rifle, practical shotgun, I want to take part in it all. Pokers of Bears, firearm fees are only lawfully allowed to be at cost. They are not about profit or extra income generation. Interesting. But what about cost recovery? You know, if they make a profit, but it is there to recover previous outlay, is that them making a profit? So, but I don't know. I don't know how that particularly works. Tony Victor, talking to my FEO, my understanding is that the current National Firearms Licensing Management System is barely adequate for private holders and utterly useless for RFDs with their holdings years out of date. Crypto Sam, I think you need to see from both sides. If they can show a revenue generation business, then it would be an additional string to their bow and not be too harsh on regulations. Take away driving licenses from the mentally ill. Lol, no, we only care about guns. Guns are bad, okay? But the thing is, in terms of medical fitness, they will take away your driving license. So that's not, it's not so much chalk and cheese as you think. If you are unwell, like, you have to declare. Well, there's actually certain certain medical conditions where you are legally required to inform the DVLA, and then they will make a decision of whether you're fit or not. Lever release were all Southern Gun Company, but Mars went on as Caledonian, Caesars, Mars, and others. I suppose that was the biggest issue with the Mars, is it was a very difficult gun to classify overall, really. But yes, but still, you've just said okay, and other. Oh yeah, okay. Perhaps perhaps there was no alternative but to spam every certificate holder across the country to be able to get those guns in. Anthony L says, anyone can do it better. G4S, hold my beer. I have sent you a G4S job advert for a full-time firearms licensing assistant. G4S have FEOs as well. Sent on Discord. Ooh, can it be shared? Oh, well, we've sent a routers. Well, I suppose it's public, so I'm going to share it. Let me get that up. Let's go and have a look. So thanks, Black Guinea Pig. I know you had said it before, but I like to try and base as much on fact on this channel as possible. Yes, I did say that with a straight face. Go fuck yourself. Let's open up Discord and have a look at these links. So, where's the message gone? Black Guinea Pig. There we go. So I've got the advert here from G4S and also a routers. I'll leave the link. I might be brave and show you the Discord. Might be brave. I'm fine with this. Oh, this is actually really interesting because we were discussing the speculation of what an FEO earns per year, and this might give actually some inclination of it. So G4S job advert, firearms licensing administration. I'm guessing it's an administration role. Fixed term for 12 months. Lincoln. So I'm guessing, well, that says which firearms licensing department. Oh, I could actually do some live journalism. This isn't this exciting. This is we're breaking new ground here. Basque Firearms League table, licensing league table. What firearms licensing department does Lincoln come under? Is it their own? Maybe, don't know. East Midlands. Right, let's see how G4S are doing. What specific? Does anyone happen to know what firearms licensing department covers? Oh, Lincolnshire. Geography was never my strong. Go on. Take a guess whether the G4S run firearms licensing department is performing above or below other firearms licensing departments. Don't just get your answer. Just say better or worse. Are they performing better or worse? You're going to be surprised. So let's get this up. So Lincolnshire, again, this I'm assuming this, like, please sanity check me if I'm really going down the garden path here. But as you can see on here, so location Lincoln, I think you can assume that is going to be part of the Lincolnshire firearms licensing department. And on the Basques table, it's all green. Like, so I know people laugh and make the joke about G4S, and there are a few assumptions here, so I'll caveat it with that. But I can't say that they're doing a bad job. You know, like, okay, some of these others might be G4Ss, but you can see that they're not even like good by a small margin. They are actually knocking it out of the park. They're going to be. So what are the tables? Let's just go. I always use the coterminous grant as sort of the leveler. Let's see. Oh, this might take a while. So 42 days. There are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 just. 8 just. 9, 10, 11. there are only 11 that are performing better. Based on just coterminous grants, there are only 11 forces out there that are performing better than the G4S run department. I don't actually know how many there are in total. I think it's 40. Is it 43? And now, interestingly, this was 2020. The question is, was G4S doing this in 2020? How were they doing in... So Lincolnshire, again, was a good one back in 2019. So there's a lot of assumptions here. Like, how long have they been doing it? Is it actually the Lincolnshire Firearms Licensing Department? Has it, if they took over, let's say, end of 2020, has it all gone to shit with them since? But Lincolnshire is... Well, it's... From the information, with a few assumptions, from the information that I can see, they seem to be doing a good job. But yeah, fact check me on that. But yeah, job advert for a firearms licensing administration. £19,000 a year, 40 hours per week, full-time and permanent. Role response, so inputting, updating, maintenance and quality control of information on police, national and other forces. So it's like data entry and general admin. Key competencies: dealing with challenging circumstances, tick. Delivering objectives, tick. Dealing with complexity, tick. Acting... Oh, okay, no, I can't go for it. Acting professionally. I knew there would be one that I fall down on. Sharing and cooperating. I can be professional, honest. And then you've also sent me this. So this is dated 2012. Alliance between Hertfordshire, Bedfordshire Force Commission reporting to services they could outsource to the world's biggest security firm. All three police authorities this week backed a move to join an outsourcing framework agreement established by G4S and Lincolnshire Police Authority last year as they look to tackle government budget cuts finding. So this was like G4S has been running Lincolnshire since at least 2012. But again, if I'm missing something here, please scream it out. But they are consistently performing well. They performed well in 2020. They performed well in 2019. Again, only, what was it, 10 or 11, 12 firearms licensing departments performing above them. There's a 2018. How were they doing in 2018? Lincolnshire, they had a hiccup year there. It's not so good in 2018, 2017. Lincoln. Oh dear. Okay, so they weren't always good. But that is, well, they've turned it around. Like the disparity. Like, how can they go from that? How can they go from... That is the coterminous. How can they go from 108 days down to like an average of 40? So they haven't always been good. They have been a bit G4S in the past, but as it stands at the moment, they are delivering a good service. They are delivering a service better than the public service run firearms licensing departments. So this whole thing about G4S and privatization of firearms licensing isn't necessarily on the face of it a bad thing. If G4S has demonstrated that they can do it. Interestingly, actually, now that we've got the others, so can we assume that Hertfordshire, Bedfordshire, and Cambridgeshire have gone over to G4S? So it doesn't say that they have, but they were looking into. So let's have a quick look. Save you guys your eyes going crazy looking at it. I mean, that if Bedfordshire and Cambridgeshire did move over, so this is what, like, obviously this is the Reuters article again. So, you know, Hertfordshire, Bedfordshire and Cambridgeshire were looking to go. I don't know if they did, but looking at the table, Bedfordshire and Cambridgeshire again are up there. So did they make the switch? And what was it? It was Hertfordshire. It's another good one. So again, I'm making the assumption that Hertfordshire, Cambridgeshire and Bedfordshire did switch over, but out of the top 10 performing, or top 11, top 12, if those other three are, then G4S is running the most efficient ones. Like, maybe that in itself, you know, so 2019, not great, but not bad. Certainly, again, up there compared to others on Bedfordshire and Cambridgeshire. Hertfordshire, again, not fantastic, but not bad in comparison to others. 2018, things were weren't as good, but still not as bad as others. With Hertfordshire, again, sort of middle of the road, but still probably better than the majority. And interestingly, back in 2017, Bedfordshire and Cambridgeshire were very good. Hertfordshire, again, very good. So again, I'm making a few assumptions there, but on what's there, I can't say that it's a bad thing, G4S potentially having taken over those counties. You know, that's not a coincidence that if they are being run by G4 or being run by G4S, if they, you know, they're all performing incredibly well. So, like, it does really beg the question, like, if a private company can come in and do this, and the reason they switched to it was for cost saving. So the police are saving money, so they're paying G4S less than it was costing them to run it themselves. G4S have come in and they are running it to a profit. So they're running it for less and they're still making a profit, and they are running it to a higher service level. It's like, I know I joke about, and no offense to civil servants, I have been one myself, just to add, but like, it's just so cliche. Like, it just really highlights how bad our public services are, how inefficiently and badly they are run, that a private company that can come in, do it for less and make a profit and deliver a better service. You know, like, just based on that, G4S should, you know, I won't say I'm convinced, because I need to double check all of this. But if that is the case, that is a huge, I think, advocacy. Not advocacy. That is a huge tick in my list for moving to a privatized firearms licensing department. There we go. You just witnessed some live journalism, the quality of which I am unsure, but it was live nevertheless. English shooting, what's your status right now, mate? Sorry, I've been away from the UK for half a year. What you mean, my status, my licensing status? My application is in currently, as far as I'm aware, being processed. So it is still just a waiting game for me. Oh, Noah Cooper's tunnel. Anyone over 6'6" is doomed, and you're well over that, Dan. This is why people always say, and people do routinely say it when they meet me for the first time in person. I am shorter in person than I look on the TV, or on YouTube on your screens. I'm 5'9" on a good day. But it's an advantage as a shooter, especially a practical shooter. There's never an aperture that I can't see into. Cooper tunnels, easier. Lower apertures, easier. You know, and you know, there's less of me, height-wise, to move around a stage. So let's see. Have some of you been able to fact check me on G4S? Pokers of Bear. So the sad thing is, I was joking when I said G4S, but is it a bad thing? You know. Pokers of Bear. I hope this isn't. Oh, it is a generalised statement. If you don't have web feet in Norfolk, they won't grant you a certificate. Maybe that's what I'm going wrong with Hampshire. Black Guinea Pig, see my message on Discord. Okie dokie. So Lincolnshire, I hope like if you send me stuff live on stream to check out, it's going to get read out. Lincolnshire are very strict on what they allow. They do not like Section 1 shotguns, for example. Cambridgeshire, which is a very similar region, performs better and is also semi-privatised. They treat the Home Office guidance as the Bible, so they still vary between forces, which is annoying. Lincoln used to be very slow, however, so G4S was an improvement. Cambridgeshire is merged with Bedfordshire and Hertfordshire for firearms. Backroom staff are G4S, FEOs are not. I mean, it's not every day I get a marriage proposal, but, you know, Black Guinea Pig has found it appropriate to also put tit, boobs, willies and marry me. So unfortunately, I am already taken. You missed your opportunity long ago. But thank you for that. Those vitally interesting messages there on the end. So I think Black Guinea Pig is sort of confirming that Hertfordshire, Bedfordshire, and Cambridgeshire are privatised to some degree, and they have seen an improvement, or they are running at a very good level compared to others. So G4S. Yes, I did say it. Yes, I did say it. I have no shame. You can get me to say most things on stream. It's not that difficult. There are far too many clips out there. Some I do regret. Some I don't. So yeah, this is definitely. Sorry about that. This isn't something that I thought we would get into this evening. This is definitely a full video worthy. I'll do a bit more research and digging. That is, I don't know, does that answer the question of whether firearms licensing should be privatised? Anyway, I've just noticed we've got nearly 100 people watching and only 43 likes. Like, I'm literally doing this for the likes. So, you know, just pay your dues, hit that like button. It makes me feel warm and fuzzy. But more importantly, it helps share this sport. The more you engage with this, you like, you subscribe, you comment, the more people that YouTube will put this out to, the channel out to, and we will get more, hopefully attract more people into the sport. Especially, you know, with Hertfordshire, Bedfordshire and Cambridgeshire and also Lincolnshire doing such a fantastic job of processing licensing, we want more people taking advantage of that. So hit the like button. It's free. It only takes a second, and it really does help the channel. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, if you enjoy the other videos and you're not already, hit that subscribe button. It does make a difference. South Wales are taking 18 months to 2 years for firearms. But are G4S just ticking boxes, or are they addressing public safety? Well, we haven't. I don't know. I don't know how you would measure that. Again, I mean, it's interesting. There could probably be a lot sort of extrapolated from those counties because it's a private company, and because, you know, the civil service is all about arse covering. There must be some performance measures, not just on the service delivered, but also on, you know, if they are doing all the checks and balances. But at the end of the day, a private company, there's a lot of liability there, right? They stand to lose not just the profit, but they're on the hook if something goes wrong. I would go out there and assume that they are probably, from what Black Guinea Pig was saying, they are a more stringent area because they're privatized. So, perhaps that's the flip side. Like, yes, they deliver a greater service, but because they're a private company, they are going to do things by the book. They are not going to, the Home Office has given them the guidance and they are going to follow the guidance. That's not a bad thing as such, but sometimes, sometimes the guidance does require interpretation. This is part of the issue, is because some forces like to interpret it differently, and some understand what the spirit of the law is, what the spirit of the guidance is, and there are certain circumstances that are very difficult to foresee, and therefore it can come down to interpretation. But yeah, it's double-edged sword. It swings and roundabouts. That's what firearms ownership is like in the UK as a whole. So are G4S sworn in or something? Well, the thing is, firearms licensing is not actually done by police officers, so they don't need to be sworn in. The firearms licensing departments that are run by the public sector, that are run by the police, they are just office staff. They're not police officers. They are true civil servants. They don't have powers of arrest. They don't, I believe, need to be sworn in. They get their ID badge as any other police staff would, but they don't have any powers or would need to be sworn in. So that is why a private company can then take it over. Sort of brings Truth Junkie, how can a private company act within common law? Surely they act within commercial law, as it's a private company. How the hell does this work? I'm not sure what you mean, because it's not, well, it's like, what's a good example? I'm trying to think of a good example. I don't know what you mean. They're like, what they're doing isn't the legal side of it. Like, at the end of the day, so okay, I think the way that it can operate is because G4S don't actually make the decision. And this is how firearms licensing works. If you didn't already know, your FEO, so your firearm inquiry officer, the guy that will come round and drink coffee and have some biscuits, and look at your safe and, give you a good grilling, doesn't make the decision of whether you get your firearm certificate or not. Even the head of a firearms licensing department does not make the decision. The decision ultimately lies with the chief of police. All firearms licensing does is put together a recommendation, or a report on their findings on an individual. This will include their thoughts during interview, their thoughts on what they found on social media, what your criminal record, what the background checks have thrown up. And I'm not saying that they don't have a heavy influence into the final decision, but the chief of police is free to ignore what they say. The chief of police can make whatever decision they want based on what evidence or whatever is presented to them, or otherwise. So that is how it's working, is that the G4S they are creating a report and putting it in front of the chief of police. The chief of police then looks at that information, and as a serving police officer, has the power to be able to, as you say, work within common law, or they're not a private entity, they're not a private company, so then can issue the certificate. Well, again, the certificate is technically issued by the firearms licensing department, but that's just the admin side of it. So the decision is made by a police officer, by the chief of police. The chief of police may choose to delegate that, but I don't think necessarily to firearms licensing it will be another police officer, but ultimately it's the chief of police. And this is why in circumstances where there is, a disagreement with firearms licensing, issues between an applicant and firearms licensing departments, you can end up almost going over the firearms licensing department and going straight to the chief of police. And I know of several certificate holders and even RFDs that have ended up having sit-down meetings with the chief of police and going like, look, you know, what they're saying isn't right. Give me a chance to, you make the decision, right? So you make your judgment on me sat here in front of you now, because they either don't have a clue or they've got the wrong end of the stick, and I'm here to explain myself. So it's that, it's ultimately the chief of police that make that decision, which is, I think, how it works. Now I've given you all this free content, plug my match. I'll plug something else if you're not careful, but only if you ask nicely. Okay, I'll plug a bit of Discord. Let me bring up. I literally cannot. I cannot. Is it? This looks safe. This looks safe for the moment. You don't know where I'm going on Discord, so you just spam everything with like dicks and tits. So for those of you that don't know, this is Discord. Now, I do go on there occasionally. Discord was a bit of a learning curve for me, but it's basically like an instant messenger forum. There's a link. I will put the link in the chat box for you guys. I can't hover on here for too long because they're going to post something inappropriate. I'll just give a brief tour. Different sort of chat rooms, as it was, that can be very specific. So, on the range, you've got rimfire, centerfire, shotgun, all that. There's a for sale in there, and if you're in there long enough and you go up the rankings, you'll get your entry to the bunker, where there's all loads of stuff. There's Hall of Fame is a very interesting place. Memes, the garage, talk about cars in there, but you can see there's all sorts of different areas. And the match chat, I'm getting off here. Oh, there we go, Dan. Are you happy? So the Discord also has different matches that they do. I'm not going to scroll. Unfortunately, I'm not going to go digging on Discord. I do not want to show things that are inappropriate. But basically, they will have things. So it's the UK shooting Discord. They will have monthly like postal competitions, so you can download everything. You can download the paper and you can shoot it, and it can be any sort of gun. I think there are certain rules and restrictions, but it's meant to be open as much as possible. So if you want to get involved, it is a very like-minded community. Follow that link that I've just put in the chat box, and you can come in and join in. There's a wealth of knowledge in there. I do drop in occasionally, mainly to either bully or be bullied. I can give as good as I get. I'm sure there's a few people that are well aware of that. So yeah, just go and check it out. Certainly if you're wanting to learn more about UK shooting sports and you want to ping quick questions to people, then go and join the Discord. There's a bounty of people in there that will jump at the chance to help other newbies out. It's a relatively friendly place. Other topics, we've done it again. We've just focused. I mean, we did go completely off field with all the G4S, but I think that was worthwhile. We talked earlier about self-policing. Now, obviously, a membership, a organization is free to choose who its members are, but obviously members that have proven themselves to be a very naughty boy, we don't particularly want within the sport. Certainly those that have been convicted, have convictions, and certainly ones that have been convicted of wildlife and firearm offences. So BASC has expelled these two members, and I think good. It shows the high standard that we want to hold within our community, and as a shooter, as a firearms owner, you need to hold. So yeah, just very interesting. I've never seen BASC do this, and it is a lifetime ban. There'd be no going back. I mean, I thought at this point that BASC would be trying to get every member they can, but they obviously still have some level of standards. It'd be interesting to see if I do ever at any point reapply for a BASC membership, whether I'll be accepted. I think that's probably 50-50 at best. But yeah, this I think is something that we need to sort of talk about more, the self-policing. We've touched on it already this stream, but I think this is a lot of what antis don't really understand. It's not, we take this incredibly seriously, and if, there's loads of cases that I've had where people have had concerns of other shooters, their mental well-being, or the state of mind, or their fitness to possess a firearm, and we will self-police. At the end of the day, every time, regardless of the circumstances, every time somebody uses a firearm, a legally held firearm, even when people use illegally held firearms, it looks negatively on the shooting community as a whole. We don't want that. Certainly the police or Home Office don't want that, but we don't want to bear the brunt for potentially missing some signs. So we do self-police. Obviously BASC have made it very clear that these guys are not welcome, and it helps maintain a certain standard within the sport. I mean, some people do completely baffle me how they ever got certificates in the first place, but there we have it. Some really positive news, again, something we touched on at the beginning of the stream, is we've got another golden girl. That is, of course, Amber Hill. So if you guys don't know, she really frustratingly, I mean, obviously frustratingly for her, but also frustratingly for us, she's on absolute top form at the moment, and had to miss the Tokyo Olympics because she caught COVID right before. Absolutely gutting, but it looks like she's bounced back. So Amber Hill has won gold in the ISSF World Cup in Cyprus. So big congratulations to her. I don't know if there's any more. There's a video. Let's just quickly go and have a look at this. Oh, it's an hour and 43 minutes long. But if you want to go and see the final, if you want to see her win that gold, then you can head over to the okay, that's appropriate. Head over to the ISSF channel, and then you can go and watch this. So they obviously streamed it. I had actually no idea that this went on. Perhaps they could do with some social media coaching or management. Don't know. I'm available. But yeah, if you want to go and see Amber Hill win that gold, then you can go and check out that video. But this is, again, something that I think we need to be shouting from the rooftops about, because it's a great advocacy for our sport. It very much shows the sporting element towards it, because it's, like the amount of good publicity, like the BBC never wants to talk about guns in a positive light apart from the Olympics, and that's why it was so gutting for me in some way, nowhere near what it would have been for Amber Hill herself, but the loss to the sport of her not being able to go out there and potentially getting a medal and potentially getting the gold because of the publicity. It's like all bets are off when the Olympics are on, when there's sports. If a Brit goes out there and wins the gold, the BBC will show them like loudly and proudly. So we missed out on that potential publicity. So it's great to see that she's back on form and she's doing well, because that gives us something positive to talk about. Why should we have guns? Well, actually, we have athletes here in the country that are capable of going across the world in World Cups, in Olympics, and winning gold, being the best in the world. That's why we want to have guns, because we want to nurture the next Amber Hill. We want to it was Richard Folds, he was a multiple gold medal winner, and it's just great for the sport. So that's what we need. It's great for the sport, it's great for the country. So stop trying to take them away from us. Also on the agenda, I know I'm like quickly rapid firing these, but lastly, sort of on the agenda is NHTSA. So we're actually going back out there. So this weekend, as I've said, is the level 3 mini rifle match, but the weekend after, so I think we're going out there Friday evening, Friday 25th, coming back Saturday evening, or maybe even, no, Sunday morning. But we're out there at NHTSA for the weekend for another match and some practice and this, that, and the other. I don't know if I'm going to film it because I still haven't edited the video from the last time. It's been a bit crazy recently. But if you haven't seen NHTSA, I've got a whole video on it, and I will unfortunately pop up in a second. This is one of the ranges there. So they have a few handguns for UK PSA members to go out, and this is an agreement. There we go. You don't need to see that. So basically, there's an agreement between NHTSA, which is the club and the range, the UK PSA, which is the GB franchise of IPSC, and also the NIPSC, which is the Northern Ireland franchise of IPSC. Basically, they were all able to get together, and through the willingness of the NIPSC and NHTSA, were able to come to this agreement where they would hold guns for the UK PSA for members to go out there and use. Also, NHTSA will give out membership to the club, to UK PSA members. They have an international member rate, so you can go out there, you can join it, and then you can use it like any other club. You can literally turn up as a club member any day of the week that they're shooting, book out a gun and if you're a full member of NHTSA, you get access to the like hundreds of club guns that they've got aside from the UK PSA specific guns. So it's a fantastic opportunity. Obviously, yes, I would much prefer that we didn't have to hop on a plane or a boat and go to Northern Ireland to be able to shoot 4-ball handguns. I'm very much a believer that the statistics show that the handgun ban was completely ineffective and actually did nothing to prevent crime. So why can't we have them back? It's like, hang on a minute, it clearly shows, and the facts do state. But anyway, that's the situation that we're in, and we have this opportunity, and don't waste it. Like, go and use it. At the end of the day, the more people that take it up, the more people that do it, they may get more guns for us out there. We may be able to do more stuff, and it may lead to us again having a top level handgun team. I'm not saying that the people currently on the handgun team on top level. It's just incredibly difficult for us to be able to train. The more people that do this, the more avenues that may open up and facilitate more training, which will obviously lead to better performance. Who would have thought training leads to better performance, right? GZERP, get rid of registration but keep the certificate system. The only reason why semi and pump shotguns were not banned back in 88 was because there was no registration required for them. Very interesting. Even Section 1 guns. Was that true for Section 1s? But yeah, anyway, before you all head off, hit that like button, make sure you are subscribed, but I am going to end it there. There are some videos planned. There is some more British shooting show content coming out, very shotgun focused. There is a few others, but they will be out soon. I'm definitely going to look more into this G4S and probably collate it into a more concise, informed video at some point. I've also got the plan of it was Black Guinea Pig talking about Section 1 shotguns. We talked about this the other day on the stream, but I again want to make a full video of it. Is actually good reason for a Section 1 shotgun and sort of laying out what the understanding is with the police in terms of what constitutes as good reason. So yeah, lots planned. Also the match, obviously I'll be filming that and I'll try and get the match video out as soon as possible. So loads of content in the pipeline, so make sure you're subscribed for that. But I am going to leave it there and leave you guys. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. Of course, don't forget we do this every single Thursday, 7:30 p.m. It's 7:30 p.m. UK time. So get subscribed if you want to get involved in more of these. Yeah, and I hope you all have a fantastic shooting-filled week. A big thanks again for joining. And of course, as always, guys, I hope to see you soon.